Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast, and this time we are going to have a 3v3 sent in by Joey G240. He's going to be playing as the Wehrmacht on, of course, Port of Hamburg, and everyone's being very nice to each other. The other players are going to be Pancho, Novia, just Pancho, OKW, Zavagumaki as the OKW. And on the enemy team, we have, well, yeah, this is kind of interesting. We have Ace. I wonder if it's that Ace, because there is an Ace that was featured in my casts quite a few times, actually. I don't know. Actually, it looks like this guy is, we have 4 friends in common. Okay, so common people that we know, pretty common in the co-community. Ace, I guess it's one of Sean, and Napoleon Bonaparte is also known as GTA Ryan, who is actually a friend of mine. So pretty friendly game in that there's apparently a triple team on this side. Not sure about Ace, but yeah, the other 2 guys are definitely in a team together, Sean and Napoleon Bonaparte, which is the most retarded name ever, but I'm just gonna call him GTA Ryan because that's what I used to call him, and that's what he used to be called. All right, so already first engagement. Some combat engineers trying to, you know, get some good barbed wire off on that gateway, but did not work. So Joey G is going to push up. However, he's getting flanked by these nice conscripts. The conscripts themselves are going to take some fire from these Volksgrenadiers from Pancho Villa. The problem is, of course, MG42 can just slip around and prevent itself from dying all too easily, which is the objective of these cons, but these cons will have to escape the field very soon. As you can see, yeah, forced away, and the other conscript squad is just suppressed by the MG42. So the Axis getting some good footholds in the center and the left-hand side. The left-hand side is not being actually contested by Sean. Sean is sending in his forces towards the center to help out there, and that is actually right, it's supposed to be GTA Ryan that's on the left-hand side. So that's actually why, because Ryan came in to help the center, but it did not work all that well, and so this is actually going to be fairly bad for the allies. On the right side, we have Ace with a sniper squad, and that's an interesting choice, certainly. Against the OKV, the OKW, it's kind of okay to go for snipers because they don't have counter snipers, but you need to be careful of the cube wagons. Cube wagons can be nasty anti-sniper units, and as you can see, Pino Battalion alone cannot face up to all this German infantry, so they will have to escape, kiting back with the snipers. Well done by Ace, using the snipers to his best advantage. Should probably target these Sturm Pioneers to get the most amount of damage dealt, of course more expensive per model. However, as you can see, the cube wagon is screening away these snipers excellently, so while the snipers can get some pot shots off every once in a while, yeah, they are targeting the Sturm Pioneer squads. While they are getting some shots off, they're not able to stop the whole blob, nor kite back all too far. They're forced to escape. In the center, we have a cube wagon moving in, so second cube wagon from Pancho Villa. Both German players, or rather OKW players, going for the cube wagons. That is pretty okay for them. However, they need to be careful because we have the tier 1, of course, for the Soviets, so this clown car is in the cards, so who knows, maybe Ace is gonna go for the clown car, which I would do if I were him, because honestly it would be quite useful against all of what Zavagumaki is going for, and looks like he is expecting that and placing down a Shumina 42. Very good play out of him. Looks like in the center, Sean and GTA are trying to move up. However, they're encountering some difficulties. Well entrenched German positions at a big building. With the machine gun, he's able to, of course, suppress all these guys that are moving in, but Joey G is going to be forced out of the position by a couple of well-placed grenades by Sean, and Sean is just going to be moving up his riflemen. However, his riflemen are in the open with no cover and very bunched up, so the mortar plus the rifle grenades plus the rifle fire just absolutely tearing these squads apart and leaving a lot of American bodies back for the crows. So while the Allies making a determined push and doing quite well, it looks like Ryan is going to be getting in this building. Or what is he doing? Is he trying to get in here, or he might be trying? No, he does not have any tank grenades. Okay, good. So it looks like he was getting in there, and he's actually gotten out a Maxim, which was positioned in the building. However, well responded by Pancho Villa with his you know, incendiary grenades. Incendiary grenades which are going to send these guys packing out of that building. So that's pretty good for the allies. And, of course, GTA Ryan already going for tank hunter tactics, which means that he's going to have PTRS on his conscripts, relatively good to counter those cube wagons, and also those anti-light vehicle mines can be pretty good, and the camouflage anti-tank gun tactics, these are pretty good. These are pretty good. Wait, armored cars? No, armored vehicles. Really now? I always thought this was just for anti-tank guns. We'll see, we'll see. So the Germans, while making some very, very good progress in the first few minutes of the game, right now they're starting to take some losses. And if the Allies can keep up this push around the center, they're going to be back into this game. However, they need to be holding the right side of the map, and they need to be holding the center for a while. They also might want to send some troops to the left-hand side just to get some harassment done, to prevent the enemy from just having these points for free, because otherwise they're just gonna let them sit on the points, and that would be pretty bad now, would it? On the right side, we do have Zava with a flak half-track. That's gonna absolutely counter all that Ace has, except for the Guards Rifleman squad. So Guards Rifleman on the field for him. Of course, mechanized support is his pick, and that's an okay choice, to be honest. It's gonna have the ISU 152, which is gonna be very, very strong. Unfortunately for him, the Guards Riflemen were only able to ambush the cube wagon. So ambushing the cube wagon, not exactly the best in terms of ambush. He could have ambushed the flak half-track and dealt a lot more damage to it. Instead, the flak half-track knows that there's something up, and so he's going to be a lot more careful. Snipers already getting 11 kills, starting to provide with a lot of support. And as you can see, the Guards Riflemen at long range don't stand much of a chance against the flak anyway. Instant suppression is the result, and they have to escape. Captain out in the field for Sean, that might be followed up by a Stuart, but I think he's going to go for a 175mm pack howitzer, which would work very, very well against this mortar team that Joey G went for, and it would work very well against the MG42. So I feel like the pack howitzer would be the best pick right now for the Americans, but a Stuart would not be the worst idea either, so we'll see if he goes for the Stuart. Flank coming in from the flak. Ooh, finds the captain actually. Please retreat. Okay, he survives. So the flak actually decides to stay there despite the fact that there's... Oh, well, that was pretty bad. Despite the fact that there was a captain there, the flak decides to stay in the smoke, which was a terrible idea because it allowed these guards to come in from the rear. It allowed the captain to get more shots off. He should have escaped while he had the chance. So that is a big loss for Zamagabunki on the right side because he's already lost his cube wagon. He's already lost his flak half-track. What else is he going to lose soon? Only time will tell. He does have the battle group, of course. But he's also gotten a second SWS supply half-track with 90 fuel in the bank, so he might be trying to go for a Schwerpanzer headquarters in the near vicinity of the future. Who knows where, though. Here comes some grenades. It's not enough. Joey G using his armor-piercing rounds very, very well, forcing away that captain and actually getting the wipe with his grenadiers. So that was well done, and the Germans are holding the center while the right side is being still pressured. So it's good that the Germans are holding the center. If they can keep the center position held, they're going to have some good prospects for the later game because they do have the left-hand side relatively locked down with next to no effort, whereas the Americans and the Soviets are having to fight for the right side, which is, well, diverting their attention from the center, and it's allowing the Germans a lot more of a foothold here. Grenade. Not getting the best of results, but the Grenadiers are at close range against the Rifleman Grands, and yeah, spear firepower forcing these German troops away. In the meantime, we do have a Maxim machine gun from Napoleon Bonaparte trying to suppress these German troops in the area. That's pretty good that he went for a Maxim because, of course, right now, with the PTRSs from Tank Hunters sections, his conscripts are already pretty weak at anti-infantry, but with the PTRSs, they're even weaker, of course. You get, I believe, 2. Unless they change that. It used to be 2. Come on. PTRS number 1. PTRS number 2. Yeah, looks like number 2. So 2 PTRSs And yeah, that's about it. 2 less Mossens and 2 more anti-tank rifles equals less firepower as a whole. But, of course, if you can supplement that with Maxim machine guns and mortars and all of that, then you can make up the difference. Second cube wagon goes down to the fire of the Maxim, and in the meantime, the Stuart is on the field at 10 minutes and 50 seconds, so quite late in terms of the Stuart. With 50 fuel in the spare, Sean definitely waited a long time to get that Stuart on the field. So I was actually kind of expecting with him foregoing that earlier to go for the Major instead of for the Stuart. We'll see if he can use that. Of course, the Germans are going to have more counters on the field right about now. We do have a Reckenwerfer for Zavagamaki. We do have one Reckenwerfer for Pancho. That should be the main anti-tank force on the left-hand side for now. However, I would definitely like if Joey went for a Pak 40 AT gun because he does have the tier 2. He's lacking in manpower because he's been fighting very fiercely around the center with his grenadiers. So he's not really that well placed in terms of manpower. He's got 150 fuel in the bank that he cannot use. So maybe getting out an AT gun now rather than later might be a good decision for him. Looks like the Guards riflemen for Ace are pushing up, and they're doing very, very well, of course. Guards with those DP-28s, massive anti-infantry firepower as well as anti-vehicle. So, very, very good choice in the early to mid-game. Very, very good choice overall. And yet more frontal attacks from the Allies in the sort of central sector. And that's honestly not been the most successful of endeavors, but finally the Americans and the British, not the British, the Soviets, have managed to secure at least partially the control over the center area. So that's pretty good. However, some German reinforcements coming in might put an end to that prematurely. The Stuart here is definitely helping in this. However, once the Germans actually kind of get their shit together and get some vehicles and AT out, this is not going to last all that long because the Allies have the right side, but in the center we still have sort of superior German forces, except Pancho has been really not using his resources. As you can see, his pop cap is relatively low at 27, 26, going down as we speak because of his units being in combat. And now he's going for a P4, which is a little bit late, to be honest. A little bit late, but not the most late P4. Actually, no, okay, the P4 is not all that late, but he should have used some more of his 470 manpower that he has in the bank, especially considering that he does have battle quarters. He could have gone for a support gun, which would have been very, very helpful against whatever the Allies are trying to do with this central position. Looks like we will have the Firestorm. MP40s rushing up to the Allied infantry, not having the best of days. They're getting sniped. They're getting destroyed by the Guards Riflemen's DP-28s. 24 kills already for the Scout Sniper Squad, and they're gonna just increase soon rather than late. And right now, it seems like a Stuka Barrage was trying to nail those snipers, but it missed. So, first Stuka Barrage not really getting any major results. Here comes an incendiary grenade. Guards are gonna definitely dodge that with a nice stance move, and the sniper is back getting some more kills. So right now it's not looking good for Zavagamaki. He can't deal with these snipers at all, and they're just completely destroying his infantry force. He's lost his Stern Pioneers. He has lost, I believe, even one Volksgrenadier squad. Did he? No, I don't particularly care about Pancho. I care about Zava. Really no. Always a pleasure to use this interface. Let's see. Why do I always like games with terrible interfaces? Stern Pioneer Squad lost. No, he's actually only produced 2 Volksgrenadiers. Oh, well, okay. So Panzer IV in the center. Panzer IV Aus J from the OKW, absolutely smashing through the Allied lines, getting some good shots in on this mortar crew and taking it out. However, forced back by the divisional field gun of GTA Ryan. Of course, GTA Ryan can use that anti-tank ambush tactics that he has from his doctrine, but he has gone for tier 4 and gotten out a Katyusha rocket system. That is a very good choice, I think, for what the Germans are trying to do over here in the center. They still have some pretty nasty swarms of infantry running about, and especially they're relying on this MG42 a lot. So if they can take out this MG42, they're going to be in a great spot, because that's going to allow the Allied infantry a lot more of an avenue to attack through the center without getting suppressed all the time. As you can see with the mortars and the grenades, they're starting to work towards that. But here comes the Katyusha, and the Katyusha is going to be doing a lot more damage than what those other explosives could have done. Right now, Sniper almost gets taken out by a normal Panzer IV from Joey G. Joey G's Panzer IV, however, takes a massive amount of damage from anti-tank gun and PTRS AT rifle combination. Looks like we have some anti-tank grenades coming in on this Panzer IV. The Panzer IV is in deep, deep shit, I would say. But thanks to the support of Joey G's Grenadiers, the PTRS squads from GTA Ryan can't actually move in on this Panzer IV and finish him off, nor can the captain with those bazookas. So this is well done by the Axis, screening away that tank as it tries to escape. Rifle grenade kind of misses. On the right side, we do have a push attempt from Zavagamaki, but it looks like, despite some problems that led to one of the guards dropping a PTRS anti-tank rifle, despite those problems, it seems like the Soviet forces on the right side have held. So this sort of, I guess you could say, strategic positioning of everyone has remained essentially the same. The Allies locking down the right side and contesting the center, whereas the Germans locking down the left-hand side with basically no trouble at all. So if the Allies can continue pressing on the center, but they need to actually capture it this time, they can continue pressing there and capturing it and causing casualties to the German forces with their artillery pieces, they can maybe have a hand at the attrition game. The problem is, Joey G has Jaeger armor. Pancho maybe going for a KT. Is he going for a KT? Well, let me click on Pancho. Come on, why? God damn it, I want to see Pancho's. Jesus fucking Christ. Can I not see what... whatever. He does have battle quarters, and he's got the Schwer Panzer quarters, and I don't see a mechanized for him. So no King Tiger coming out of him yet, but he does have an extra truck, so he might be going for the mechanized now, and that would give him the King Tiger. In alternative, he might have the Command Panther or the Jag Tiger. So lots of late game options for the Germans, and that's not even to think about Zavagamaki, who has whole 4 buildings, so he can also go for a KT later on. So yeah, the Allies really need to put some dents into the Germans, and especially considering that they are down to 293 VPs of their own, the VP route is going to be a little bit more difficult for them, but they're going to need to try to get some damage off now before it gets too late, before the Axis can really mass up a lot of heavies. Once again, another infantry assault fails on the right side. To be honest, Zavagamaki should just be, okay, never mind. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, his pushes over here on the right side, there may not be having any major successes, but they're definitely distracting Ace from pushing more forces in the center. And it is the Axis that needs to be, the Allies that need to be the ones making the aggression. Oh, there goes that Grenadier squad. It is the Allies that are the ones needing to make the aggression over the center. And as we all know, to attack requires more forces. And right now, the Allies absolutely need some extra help in the center. Otherwise, the Germans are just going to continue just sort of monopolizing the central area. So, in fact, while this is not really having any practical implications right off the bat, Zavagamaki's attacks on the right side have been very useful to the German cause as a whole, because they've been distracting the Allies from helping in the center as well. And especially considering that Ace is actually fairly well stocked on units. He's got an Su-85, he's got probably the best infantry out of all the Allied players, and he's got those that sniper team, 33 kills. So nothing to be laughed at, although his pop cap is lower than that of Napoleon Bonaparte's, also known as GTA Orions. That's because GTA Orion has a couple of artillery pieces. So in terms of actual fighting units, field forces, it is Ace that has, I guess you could say, the biggest land presence for our Allied players. So they need to be sending up some more help down the center. Otherwise, these P4s are just going to continue massacring the Allied infantry. It was actually kind of surprising that Sean went for a Sherman rather than a Jackson, because honestly, the only problem that the Allies are facing right about now, that is, with their current force composition kind of insurmountable, is the Panzer IV threat. Because they just don't have anything to deal with these tanks. And as you can see, here comes the Panzerwerfer barrage from Joey G's Panzerwerfer, destroying the field gun and the Pack Howitzer's crew. And the second anti-tank gun was decrewed earlier by some infantry. Third anti-tank gun decrewed also by some infantry. So there goes all of the AT-40 Allies over here. If these Panzer IVs had been a little bit, you know, in a better shape, a little bit repaired, right now it could be pretty bad for the Allies, because the P4s could just push in and do some damage. So once again, the Su-85 should come into the center. There's not much that the Su-85 can do on the right side except chase down a Stuka, which isn't really all that good. And now with the Jagdpanzer on the field, the Jagdpanzer doesn't really care, or rather, the Soviet infantry shouldn't really care about the Jagdpanzer. So there's no need to keep the Su-85 on the right side, I would say. Where's that Stuka falling? In the center. Okay, so yeah, the Axis once again regaining control over that center area. Second Stuka on the field, this time for another player, Pancho Villa, getting some good results on these mortars, but Ryan's mortars have actually been very, very good, and he's actually using these flares, which is great. A lot of German players forget about the flares, and well, German and Allied players forget about the flares on basically all of their units, but you shouldn't, because it's free vision, and vision is key. Vision is key. Oh wow, that was a nasty, was that a... Yeah, that was a precision bombing strike. Very, very expensive. Very, very expensive. Getting some good damage off on those German troops. In fact, it's kind of surprising that those German infantry squads did manage to find themselves within the area of effect of those nasty high explosive bombs. PTAB. That was a PTAB, was it? Yes, that was a PTAB. So lots of airstrikes being used by the Allies, not really having the best of effects, falling on a lot of empty German land. Here comes the Panzerwerfer. Nice dodge. The two Katyusha are going to reply in kind, and they're actually trying to counter-battery the Panzerwerfer, but they're going to miss. So good play by GT Ryan. Going to actually try to counter-battery that piece. However, it doesn't work. He should continue doing that, though, because at least it's going to keep the enemy on his toes. What I would have done differently is I would have used only one Katyusha instead of two. That's always something that I feel like people kind of miss out on in terms of... It's not really like the most important thing to do, but it's kind of nice when you have like two artillery pieces or something. You can just fire one at a time, so that if you need the other one, you can just have it fire, you know? Echelon out your barrages and all of that. Conscripts moving up, but not having the best of days. Looks like you have another PTAB strike, this time on a machine gun. Well, I'm pretty sure that was a waste of munitions. Napoleon Bonaparte is actually out of munitions now. This would have been a little bit better because it did force that machine gun to retreat. Well, I mean, it shouldn't have, but of course, you never know whether or not that's like an incendiary artillery barrage or a PTAB bombing strike or a L2 bombing strike, so you might as well just retreat. It did force the MG to at least reposition or retreat, so it should have been followed up by a normal infantry assault, but it wasn't the case, and that was kind of unfortunate. On the right side, it seems like the Axis did have some successes earlier, but yeah, the Allies continue to monopolize that VP, which has essentially saved them, because honestly, if there had been a little bit more of triple capping, the Allies right now would be in such a terrible shape. As you can see, 210 VPs are left for them. And this is allowing them a little bit of extra breathing space. It's going to allow them a little bit more time to use this ISU-152 to their best, hopefully, of effects. However, the ISU-152 is going to be countered by the Elephant Tank Destroyer, because the ISU is a anti-infantry / anti-vehicle unit, especially though anti-infantry with those high explosive shells. That's what you usually want to do with the ISU-152. However, with the Elephant being on the field, the Elephant can just like trade blow for blow for the ISU and come out on top almost every time. Also, the Elephant first shows its superiority by just smashing down that Stuart. There is a Jackson on the field for Sean and T-34-76 for Napoleon Bonaparte, however, so the Elephant needs to be kind of afraid of flanking maneuvers. Fight over the center is developing rather well for the Germans, except for their infantry, which is forced to retreat. But with all the support weapons and the tanks in the rear, they're able to keep that. Panzerwerfer barrage trying to come in and do some damage, but not really having the best of results. Raketenwerfer is going to be stolen, actually, by these American riflemen, but Panzer IV murders that crew. Here comes a anti-tank grenade on the Panzer IV. Does some damage, however, there's not really much that can follow up. And finally... Wait, no, no. See, I saw this guy on the minimap, and I'm thinking, yeah, finally there's someone moving on the left side for the Americans. However, it wasn't to be the case. The Allies still leaving this whole left-hand side just to the wolves, and it's honestly kind of sad. Because they need to take advantage of that fact that there's no real German units on this side. Finally, some Rangers moving in here. And it's going to force some sort of a German response. Of course, it's maybe too little, too late. Maybe. Who knows? Yet another Katyusha, not Katyusha, Stuka barrage. Looks like one of the P4s went down. That's Joey G's P4. Well done. Actually, yeah. Look at that. I never noticed that this existed. The Su-85 is camouflaged. That's pretty great. Of course, lots of lag because of the particles, but yeah. The ISU-152, as you can see, most likely this was from the Elephant. Yep, I see that there's some veterans on the Elephant. As you can see, like, just one engagement and it's already at less than half HP, which is bad because Ace does not have any of the enhanced repair techniques that the Soviets can get. He doesn't have repair stations, he doesn't have conscript repair, he doesn't have vehicle crew repair. So he's gonna be slow as hell in repairing this thing. Thankfully, he has some help from Sean's rear echelon troops, but yeah. Here comes a... Wait. A P-tab was used, but I wonder where. Anyway, precision bombing strike on the battle group. Kind of missing. Honestly, I prefer to save up those precision bombing strikes for either enemy heavy tanks that are in some way slowed down or immobilized, because they're very, very effective against those. Especially this KT and this Elephant are great targets for that. If you can get a anti-tank grenade off on it, yeah. Or Schwer Panzer quarters. Schwer Panzer quarters are also pretty good targets for that because they're very, very valuable. And as you can see right now, the C-34, nicely done, destroying that Volksgrenadier squad. The problem is, it's gonna die. Although the two Su-85s plus the Su-152 are doing massive firepower on these German tanks. And as you can see, the Su-152 is covering the Su-85s from the infantry with its high explosive shells. But the Elephant Tank Destroyer is really providing that edge that the Germans need to succeed in this engagement. As you can see, all of these Allied vehicles are taking some heavy damage just by sitting here, letting the Elephant fire on them. Another Katyusha barrage onto the rear, actually onto the, oh wow, nicely done, onto the battle group headquarters. That's always a good idea to target your artillery on the enemy retreat points, and as you can see, the success came in the form of a wipe. Still though, the Allies are really... Yeah, I was gonna say, all of their vehicles are at some pretty bad levels of repair. In fact, except for the Su-152 and the Sherman, they're all at very, very low HP. So they need to just repair these vehicles. They need to leave the field to the Germans. Otherwise, well, the Germans can just move in and take care of all their vehicles really easily. Always repair your stuff. Right side, yet another attempt from Zawugumaki. Man, So Zabugamuki and Ace right now, they're having kind of a face-off, but the difference is that Ace is finally able to send some units all the way to the center. That is because Zabugamuki has 50 pop cap, whereas Ace has 90. So as you can see, he can use part of his force to hold down the right side, whereas the forces that are left, the other units can just move into the center and move into the, into the aid of his buddies. Pershing on the field for Sean. This is not the best of decisions because of the presence of the elephant, but it's going to be very useful against the P4 that is left, and it could be okay against the KT in the form of a flanking vehicle. Here comes a Panzerwerfer barrage, and it does destroy that. Well done, well done. That is exactly what should have happened there. However, there is some counter battery fire coming in from these Katyusha rockets. The Allies are still kind of in a concave. They're getting pushed slowly but surely back to their base. However, the Germans really need to be making these offensives with their vehicles a little bit more well-timed. As you can see, the German infantry is all kind of dead or scattered at this point, and yet the German vehicles are still sticking around. They do manage to get the kill on the Pershing, though. That's actually big. That is because of the Elephant tank destroyers. Very, very good. Very, very good penetration. Right now, however, the KT is in trouble. It's taking PTRS fire from the conscripts. The conscripts can throw anti-tank grenades on it. Here comes the RPG-40 anti-tank grenade assault. It's actually on the Elephant tank destroyer, and it does immobilize it, or at least slow down the engine, which will make it into a very, very juicy target for the Allied forces. However, there's still this Panther over here. The Panther throws itself bravely into the line of fire to push back the Su-85. The Su-152 is also putting some nasty rounds into that frontal armor. And right now, it seems like the Axis are going to have to retreat, but they need to be able to defend these two heavy tanks. These two super heavies need to be protected from the wrath of the Allies, because if those two fall, do the Axis have any resources actually that they can use to replenish them? Well, Pancho has 220 fuel, and Joey G has 160, but they're both lacking in manpower from all this atrocious fighting over the center. So, yeah, I would say that if these two vehicles go down, there isn't really much that the Germans can do, because they wouldn't be able to replace them, and they're such an important part of what the Germans are trying to go for right now. Such a mainstay of their army. On the right side, finally, a KT is on the field for Zabugamaki, and this is going to turn the tide, hopefully, finally allowing Zabugamaki to keep the right side, or rather take the right side, and prevent the Allies from still holding that point hostage. Katyusha barrage in the center, once again falling down on the battle quarters. This time it's empty, however. Well, mostly empty. Does destroy a Panzer Fusilier unit. It's pretty good. So slowly but surely, the Allies are coming back into the center, and they're doing well. However, this is because the Axis are just running out of infantry in the center. And the right side, as we can see, is being taken over slowly but surely by the Axis, thanks to this KT. And if the Allies can't really do too much about this push, well, they're going to be in a terrible spot, because that's really all that's keeping them in the game, the right side. Sniper's still alive, 45 kills. Yeah. In terms of pop cap, it seems like 140, 145... Oh boy, 215 around for the Germans, whereas the Allies are at 130, 240. So the Allies are slightly ahead when it comes to pop cap, but they haven't been able to actually get an advantage. Once again, I think this is kind of due to the distribution of units. Like, I think that the Allies are using way too much on the right side. Like, Ace has been spending way too many resources on this right side of the map, which has allowed the Axis to get some good footholds in the center and the left. And because of the qualitative superiority of the Axis units in the late game, it does not really matter all that much if the pop cap is slightly in the favor of the Allies at this point, because the Axis can just use their units to better effect anyway. And so it's too little too late in a way to get control over the center for the Allies, or at least stable control. They did finally manage to get at least the cap on the center VP. Katyusha barrage on the right side. Yeah, as you can see, we do have some extra deployments on the right, because at this point they're needed. They need to somehow take out this Königsjäger, and also this Jagdpanzer 470 needs some dealing with. Guards Riflemen, of course, going to be more than happy to oblige and pour in some PTRS fire. However, here comes the German counterattack into the center. We have the Stuka silencing that pack howitzer. However, nicely done with the Katyusha, just repulsing these grenadiers. And now that there's no more German infantry, or at least slightly reduced German infantry, the tanks are going to be in not as good of a position. Here comes the Königsjäger. The Königsjäger tries to move in, lumbering the slow, of course. Pretty good push for the Germans overall, and if they can follow up with some infantry and you know, prevent this IC-152 from just putting in too much pressure, they can probably cap the center. And that would be a very, very good boon for them. Ah, he escapes. Of course, he doesn't want to face the barreling 152mm of the issue. Of course, though, Pancho is slowly but surely, and very surely, but not so slowly, building up his forces. As you can see, he's already got a Panther. He had the KT all this time. He had this P4 all this time. P4, which is actually up to 31 kills. So that is very nasty. And if he can, I guess, use these forces along with Joey G's other units, especially the armor, if they can combine their might into one big push, I feel like the Allies don't really stand much of a chance. The main priority target, of course, is going to be the Su-152. But to be completely honest, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a better idea for the Axis to just focus on destroying the smaller units first. Because if they can, especially this Jackson, because if they can take out the Jackson, the firepower that the Su-152 can actually output onto the German armor is not as big as it could be. Like, it's got a lot of alpha damage, I guess you can call it. Like, it does a lot of damage with its main gun in its shot, but it takes a long time to reload this thing, and so its actual damage per second, or damage per minute, or whatever you want to call it, is, I would say, not as big as the veteran Su-85, if the Su-85 actually penetrates. I don't have the data on this, but that's at least my impression. Here comes a nasty Stuka bombing strike, however... Oh, it was up here. Okay, never mind. The Germans once again pushing on the right side. We do have a Stuka barrage destroying a lot of Allied infantry, but the German tank destroyer is dead, and that opens up the way for these two Su-85s to push back the KT. So that is not the best thing ever to have happened to the Germans. However, once again, this push on the right side from Zamagamaki is distracting Ace's forces from the center, and Ace is having to rely on his Su-152 in the center. Su-152, which is up to 19 kills, and counting, I would say. Damn, lots of damage on that Grenadier squad. Kind of lucky that he survived. The Grenadier might try to sacrifice his life for the fatherland. Might have to sacrifice it anyway. Will he fire? Well done. I think that was actually an attack round. Well done by Ace's Su-152, and probably well done by Ace as well with the attack round. So that is actually fairly crucial, because at this point, if the Allies can wipe out all of these veteran German squads, they're going to be in a much better position. Another Pershing on the field. And the no man's land in the center still being artillery to hell and back. But the Germans are slowly but surely inching out ahead. Slowly but surely. 82 points left for the Allies. That would be a minute and a half of triple cap. However, the Elephant is in a very bad position. It advanced a little bit, tiny bit too far, and is actually marked vehicled by the mechanized support tactics. To protect it, the Panther is killed. However, the Pershing is also killed, and I would say that the Pershing for the Panther is a relatively good trade. This KT is also in the fight. Perhaps should have to retreat right now. Yep, it does pop that blitz and tries to get away. The second KT is going to try to support the center, it seems. However, it's very, very low on HP. And right now, he's waiting on the repair of this bridge. However, he needs also to repair the KT, so the attention of those Terran Pioneers is definitely divided. Direct hit? Oh, okay. Shuka barrage over the center. Not enough damage to kill these MGs, but the Panzerfaust barrage does destroy one of them. Damn. So the Germans, once in a lifetime, actually managing to get some good usage out of their artillery. Partially thanks to good RNG, partially thanks to good usage of the artillery as a whole. They've been using recon runs quite a lot, especially Joey G, who is the only one actually with recon runs, but these have been very, very, very useful in pinpointing targets for the German artillery pieces, and they've been allowing them to get some better aimed stuff. Also, they've got some map hacks wagons. Looks like there was an attempt at a counter battery on the Katyusha with the help of the infrared searchlight, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. Still though, the Axis making good usage of that kind of demonstrates that the Allies do not necessarily have the monopoly on effective artillery in Company of Heroes. So honestly, the fact that the Germans have been able to keep up the artillery game with a very, very serious Katyusha spamming Soviet player, it's, you know, it's pretty good. Carried by Pancho. I mean, Pancho is doing pretty well. I wouldn't say that he's carrying it all by himself. He does have the most pop cap, but Joey G's elephant has been very, very instrumental, because if it wasn't for the elephant, to be honest, the KT would be in a lot worse of a position. Anyway, the game is actually not over. Yeah, it's maybe down to 70, but right now, as you can see, there is... Oh, that was a failed P-tab. It did stun the KT, however. I wonder if the Allies are going to try anything. Oh, there goes the veteran C. Jackson. So... there's actually another KT on the right side. This is very dangerous still, because the bridge is wrecked, as you can see. And so the KT can't really do too much over here, and it's just going to take shots. However, here comes a nice flank from Pancho. He's able to get into the rear and into those Katyusha, and that is exactly what the Panther is excellent at. If it can actually reload and fire, it does kill the first Katyusha. Second Katyusha is also going to go down. It absolutely does not care if it dies in the process, and it probably is not going to die unless this Sherman can get some very, very good... Oh, there's the surrender. Wait, only Napoleon Bonaparte surrendered? What about everyone else? Anyway, so I would say that, honestly, I mean, the Allies might have been able to still get this through. Because, really, what the Allies had over the Germans in this game was the infantry. And despite their problems with map control earlier on in the game, despite all of their mistakes, they were slowly but surely surging ahead. And as you can see, we have 3 infantry squads from Zawagamaki, of which 1 is elite. We have 3 infantry squads from Pancho and 2 from Joey G, whereas Sean has 2 plus 2 rear echelons, and those shouldn't be discounted when you have 390... why didn't you upgrade bars, dude? I was just about to say, when you have 390 munitions, you can upgrade those bars. But, he did not go for that. Oops. Anyway, when you have 1,000 manpower in the bank for the Soviet player and 1 conscript, that can be increased. Also, the American player having 657 manpower means that he could have also gotten out some more infantry. Ace had 1,700 manpower and, well, some very, very good infantry squads with veterancy free, the sniper to support. All this to say, if the Allies had been a little bit more aggressive about getting out AT guns and infantry and moving up this line slowly but surely into the center, it's not like the German artillery was really just wrecking them all together. Like, yes, it did take out some of their support weapons from time to time, but they were still able to push up relatively. Like, at this point in the game, the Allies never had such a good map control as when they surrendered, which is kind of weird. So to be completely honest, I would have liked to see some more Allied aggressiveness when it comes to pushing out those AT guns, pushing out that infantry, trying to take control over the center, and then perhaps making some moves on the left. Really leaving the left-hand side completely like that, and also Ace focusing so much of his attention for so much of the game on the right. I feel like are the two big strategic reasons why the Allies didn't have the best of days. Still though, well done to the Axis, well done especially to Joiji's Panzerwerfer usage, Joiji's Elephant usage, and Pancho's P4, which was very, very effective. Veteran C5, 33 kills, and also Pancho's Stuka. I would say that the rocket artillery usage, even Zavugamaki had some pretty good moments with that. So the rocket artillery usage plus the heavies plus that P4 really were the highlights of the play for the Germans. If I were to nitpick on something for the Germans, is that I would have been a lot more careful of how I use my infantry, because honestly, the Allies could have really prevented a lot of this had they just been more aggressive on the infantry front. Because it's not like the Germans really have that many means at this point to contest Allied map control when it kind of surges forward, right? So the Germans are starting off with more points, but since they don't have infantry, once they lose points, they can't really retake them. That's how I would have foreseen the game actually continuing on for like the next 10 or 12 minutes. Perhaps the Allies could have gone back, you know, something. They could have made a play for the win, I think. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. And yeah, I will see you soon.